This is the Fearless Finance Podcast with Amy Ross. Amy and the team at Gold Shield Wealth are dedicated to helping adults plan for and manage the hurdles they may face on their journey to retirement. Get more, including contact information in the show notes. Now, Fearless Finance with financial advisor Amy Ross.
I know that you're a woman of the people. You do incredible workshops and seminars throughout the community. You had another one this week. So let's peel back the curtain a little bit. What's on the mind of the people of Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area regarding their finances, regarding their retirement? What are people talking about right now?
You know, the state of the economy, the war, the volatility in the market, that's definitely on the retirees' minds, as it should be. I can't imagine being actively in retirement and having all these things going on around me that are completely out of my control. You know, that would be very stressful. Taxes, that's always on people's mind. One thing that really came up at the seminar this past week that was interesting to me was IRMAA. You know, where your Medicare premiums. I don't know why that was a hot button conversation, but we kind of got going down that road. And, you know, a lot of people aren't even aware of IRMAA and the surcharges.
Educate us. Maybe we're just now getting serious about our retirement strategies. We're thinking down the road. Who is IRMAA? It's not our friend. IRMAA's not our good aunt.
IRMAA, I have a very nasty name that I call IRMAA in my head that I can't say on the radio. IRMAA's not very nice to people.
We don't like
what
IRMAA.
happens with IRMAA is, you know, your Part B premiums and D premiums are connected to your income. So there are brackets that you get surcharged. You pay more than the standard, I think it's 202 for this year for Medicare premiums. As you increase your income levels, that fee goes up. So, there are some people that are paying $600 for that Medicare Part B premium. So all that has to do with tax planning, you know, getting as much of that pre-tax money out of that bucket so you can kind of control what your income levels are going to be, because a lot of people forget about that your Medicare is also attached to your income and what you report.
Get more information about when the next educational workshop will be happening and be put on by the team at Gold Shield Wealth, and get more at goldshieldwealth.com or call it anytime, 843-585-5223. And Amy, before we got started this weekend, you mentioned a fascinating conversation you had with a gentleman that came to one of these events looking for information almost to take back to his financial advisor. What was that about?
Yeah, and this happens a lot, but this one in particular just kind of struck me as, wow, and it happens a lot, but the conversation went like this. The gentleman was from up in the Northeast, which is the majority of people that I work with, because they like to retire down here in Myrtle, which is way better. I mean, you can't blame them, right?
Amen. Amen. 100%.
Really, like life is slower, just a much more pleasant place to live, in my opinion. But he had, proceeded to tell me that he is an advisor up in New York that he absolutely loved. And this guy was so good, had been having his back. And so I was like, okay, what do you love so much about this advisor? And he's like, oh, he's made me money throughout the years. He bought me Apple stock, blah, 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 blah. But then he wants me to review an annuity product that the same advisor had sold him. And he's been in it for 12 years. And so I asked the gentleman, I said, well, hold on a minute. I said, this advisor that you really love, I said, did he put you in this product? And he's like, well, yeah, he did. And I said, why is he not reviewing this product for you? And he's like, well, I don't know. He just never has. And I'm like, well, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. Because, here's the bottom line, Mark. If someone is paying an advisor to manage their money, that means all of their money. It means even reviewing those annuity products. And so I proceeded to tell this man in the nicest way possible that, there's a major disconnect there. Yep. If you have an advisor that you are paying to do things for you, and then you go to a random dinner seminar from another advisor and feel the need to ask that person to review things that your advisor is doing, and then you find that what your advisor is doing is a lot higher fees than you thought, subpar income stream, subpar product, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Big time. What is your advisor bringing to the table more than just buying you some Apple stock? Because we've been in a bull market for over a decade. So just making someone money isn't the whole game. It's all the other things that go along with it. Being aware of the fees and that your money's getting you what you should. A wise man once told me that annuities, it's like the Toyota Corolla. If you think of the Toyota Corolla from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it is not the Toyota Corolla of today.
That's right.
Annuities are the same way. Insurance companies are constantly trying to one up each other and get better and better and better. So in order to stay competitive, you want to review those products and make sure that you're in the right product, because a lot of times they're just outdated.
This dude needs a second opinion. It sounds like this gentleman may be coming to you fishing for information, but maybe he may not have the right person managing his money. He may not have the right financial advisor.
Well, if within the first 3 minutes of the conversation, I unearthed that this gentleman is paying 3.5% in fees on his product that wasn't brought to his attention. So I don't know, if that were my dad, I would be like, you need to get a second opinion, because, you're putting all your trust in someone and assuming that they have your best interest at heart. But, if you find something that is off that fast, maybe you need to have someone take a look at it.
And it's not so much that he was coming to you looking for information. It's the fact that he was having to do all the work. I think that...
Yeah, to me, that's just not fair. That was what struck me as such an odd situation. It's like, he's like, I'm going to take this back to my advisor. That's going to go one of two ways. That advisor might not be real happy with his his self to do figuring this out on his own. They may be offended, but who knows how that'll go.
Well, if you're listening this weekend and you're going, you know what, I'm working with one of these big box advisors, or I'm working with somebody in Chicago, New York, LA, Atlanta. I just feel like they're missing some opportunities. I feel like my needs aren't being met, or more often than not, we just feel like a number. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of that initial second opinion service from the team at Gold Shield Wealth. 843-585-5223. Again, 843-585-5223. or online at goldshieldwealth.com. I was just scrolling Instagram the other day, Amy, and I wasn't on the Gold Shield Wealth Instagram page. I wasn't looking for anything specific. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Amy Ross. What is she up to? And it was a great conversation you had with one of our good friends, Sid Mullins, who's in the industry as well. And y'all are having a good back and forth little video conversation about annuities. But he asked you a question, and I want to put you on the spot and ask you the same question. Amy, what's a common misconception about annuities?
That they all have high fees.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. It's totally a misconception, because there are different types of annuities, right? So when you Google things, they're not all the same.
Yeah.
So that's a huge misconception. Variable annuities can hold the highest fees, and those generally range between 2 to 4.5%. I did a lot of reviews. I found several clients came to me to look at some variable annuities just like last week. And I think between the 5 that I reviewed, the fees ranged from 2.5%. The most common average amount is about 3 to 3.5%. So, that's a pretty decent amount of fees to be paying for an annuity, honestly. Fixed indexed annuities, many of them have no fee at all. Mm-hmm. Some of them will have a 1%, but it's for features that the product offers you, like an income stream for life or extra liquidity. That's been a thing with annuities in the past is, the liquidity of them, you're trapped. You can take 10% out, generally penalty free. But again, the insurance companies, they're always trying to get better and one up each other. So now they're adding these features to where you can get increased liquidity, increased access to your money for less than 1%. So, just look at what you have. And fees are not always bad, right? The way that I look at fees is, what's it buying me? Mm-hmm. Does that fee hold value for me? If the fee holds no value, then dump it. But the fee may be worth every penny, but you need to know what you're paying for.
There's a good article I read recently about how we as adults, we're starting to suffer from subscription fatigue. And that is essentially, you think about how many streaming services that you have right now. Like, Amy, how many do you subscribe to via TV?
Let me tell you, I just got fussed at. Andrew was just fussing at me last week.
Okay.
Because, I do private Pilates lessons. I don't have time. I don't go to a normal gym anymore. I get up really early and I have my trainer and we do that. But do you know what? I've been paying $20 to Planet Fitness for years. Do you know when the last time I went to Planet Fitness was? Probably 4 years ago, right? Yeah. So I myself am bad at that too. So Andrew's like, Amy, you need to cancel this subscription. But in the same time, I flipped it back on him and we went down our streaming services, where you want to watch this one show and you have to sign up for the service. And by the time you add it up, you're paying way more than you ever dreamed of paying for a cable bill.
Yep.
You just don't see it because it's a little bit here, a little bit there. So yes, I actually encourage my retirees, even though I'm not the best at myself, thinking, admittedly my Planet Fitness membership, but I'm always saying, they add up after a while. Once you start looking at this, for sure. Yeah.
We can't always blame ourselves for overpaying for streaming services because they'll hike the price and they'll send us one email and it's buried at the very bottom on the terms and service agreement. Or they'll just do a complete price change and not even tell us. For the families you serve, it's like that in portfolios. How often do you find that, be it the annuities, as we talked about, or 401ks, or specific products, people are paying an exorbitant amount in fees, but they just don't know about it?
All the time, because most people don't know how to read the statements. They're very confusing. So if you don't know what you're looking at, it's really hard, especially with variable annuities. If you don't really know how to ask, well, what's this fee? What's that fee? You'll just not know. And it's another thing too is with mutual funds. People don't realize that those can have very expensive expense ratios inside of them that also eat away at your earnings. So you got to look at all these fees and different things. So that's taking away from what you get to keep.
Right.
So like I said, make sure they have value.
That number is 843-585-5223. And Amy, that's why you offer the full body scan of your retirement portfolio. Tell me about that, because you are doing a deep dive in our portfolio to find just that. How are we overpaying with fees? Tell me more about the full body scan.
You know what I always say when someone comes to me, I say, listen, I just met you. I don't know what you've done with your past. I don't know where you've been. So that's what I like to do is back from my healthcare days, we always did a very detailed scan to find out where all the cancer was and what we needed to do. So that's what I like to do is basically rip it apart so I see exactly what's been going on before I give any type of an opinion. Put fresh eyes on it. Fresh eyes can be amazing. Things stand out. Sometimes when you've looked at things so long, you just miss it. You miss the forest for the trees because you've just been looking at it too long. So that's what I like to do is really find out where have you been and then actually talk to you about where you're trying to go, and piece it together for us.
All right, Amy, I'm putting you in a dark room. Amy, I'm putting the big bright light on you. Amy, I'm going to ask you the question that everybody wants to know. Amy Ross, do you believe in aliens? Are they real?
Yes, I do believe in aliens. Andrew and I have very in-depth conversations about these things, and I do. I believe if there is life on our planet, there has to be life on other planets as well.
Thank you.
And we can go down this rabbit hole if you want, but people might think I'm nuts if you make me talk about this too long, but I truly do believe in aliens, and I do believe they're walking around amongst us.
Oh, hold on. Boy,
I believe there are some on Earth with us. I just do.
Really? You went straight Men in Black on that one.
Oh, so I'm telling you, you really want to go there, Mark? Let's go.
You really believe that there are aliens walking around in human form? Mm-hmm. We need more time in the day to discuss this.
I know.
I'm with you, though. I don't know if I believe in, the little green aliens with the beady eyes that want to probe us.
Right, I think they look just like us. I don't think we know who they are.
It's such a big universe. I think it's ignorant for us to believe that we're alone in this.
Right. I mean, I live right by the ocean. And one thing that I love to do, if I'm having a really bad day, thinking that my problems are much bigger than everybody else's, you know what I like to do? I like to drive down to that water and look at the ocean. I'm like, wow, I am such a small part in God's huge universe.
Amen.
And if he took time to create me and he took time to create all those ocean creatures that are out there and all the bugs in the sand and everything else. I mean, why would it be unreasonable to think that there aren't aliens? I mean, it's kind of more crazy to think that there aren't, but I'm with you. I don't think they're Martians.
Right.
Not what we think about, as kids, like aliens.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
And then you're having this deep spiritual moment in the sand, looking up at the sky, and then a satellite will go by and you'll be like, see, there's a UFO. See, I told you.
Right, hi, see, told you. Told you.
All right, so as we're talking about aliens, myths, whether people believe this or not, you would think that the most powerful position, the biggest job in the world, that of the President of the United States of America, would know about aliens. I want you to hear this clip from former President Barack Obama. He was on the Brian Taylor Cohen podcast, and they asked him that. Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
That's not a red or a blue, a Democrat or Republican thing. You have the biggest position in the world. How does the president not know about aliens?
I think he agrees with me.
Yeah.
They're not in Area 51. They're not being kept in bunkers. They're walking around on Earth with us.
And they're in Congress right now. That's where you can find
Yes.
All right, so let's get deeper with that. Let's flip it for what you do, for the families you serve. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about aliens, but Amy, there's also a lot of myths about retirement. I'm going to give you a myth. I want you to tell me why that's wrong. The myth is Social Security, it's going to cover most of what I need. How is that a myth?
I see it all the time, and rarely does it cover what people need. You know, Social Security was never intended to be a sole source of income for people. It never was. And then we somehow made it that way. When I first got out of healthcare and went into the insurance industry, I worked in Horry County. I went out to Williamsburg County, even to the poorest of the poor population, and in an area to where most people live just off of Social Security. And I'll tell you, they don't make ends meet. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it is truly a myth that Social Security will handle things, because the cost of living adjustments that they give a lot of times is swiped right back by increasing Part B premiums and their Medicare. So it's like you just really not getting anywhere with it. So it very rarely covers what one needs.
So it should complement your overall plan, not
exactly.
be.
It's more of a complement, not the sole source.
And then what are you telling your younger families that you serve, those that are 45, 50, 55 years old? There's all these conversations that Social Security benefits, they're going to be depleted. They're going to dissolve over the years. What's the myth behind that? What are you hearing?
You know what? We know today. And what we know today is it's still around. However, I will say, as a spry, young 47-year-old, I am trying to plan around it, to where if it's not there, it's not going to make or break me. Because, Mark, you and I are young enough to where we can plan to where if they do take it away, we're not completely hosed.
Yes, ma'am.
For people who are already in retirement, it's too late for them to make those adjustments. But for us, it's not.
If you have questions about your Social Security, a lot of layers behind it. I know it's a big talking point for the families you serve. We invite you to reach out to the team at Gold Shield Wealth, 843-585-5223. Again, 843-585-5223. I love how Amy just said that. It should not be your entire retirement plan, but complement your overall plan. All right, Amy, I got another myth for you. Amy, somebody comes to you and say, hey, you know what? I'm not so worried about income and retirement because I'm just going to spend less money once I retire. How is that a myth?
Well, you don't know that. You know, the expenses just change. You know, you may not be stopping to get Starbucks every day on your way to work or paying for gas or work clothing. But for the most part, at least here in Myrtle Beach, my retirees don't want to just sit around. Even if they like to do yard work, that's expensive, right? When's the last time you went to Home Depot to do some yard work?
Yep.
You don't get out of there for a few $100s, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's a big misconception, is like, oh, I'm just going to spend less, because you don't know that. I mean, you still have a life to live. So, most of the time you have more time on your hands. So you want to travel more. You're able to go out to dinners and things like that. So I say plan for what you want to spend. Don't be a miser in retirement. There's no need to be.
You know, you're talking about going to Home Depot. First, you're going to spend money on all the new equipment, making the yard look great. Then you're going to make a second trip to CVS or Walgreens to get the back pain medication, to get the Bengay.
The Benadryl, the allergy meds. Yep. Then in the middle of summer, when the bugs start eating away at all of your plants, you got to go buy the bug repellent and all that. I don't know. My husband does all that, but I do know it is not cheap.
That's why I have a landscaper. All right, a next one for you. I know my limitations, Amy Ross. Here's another myth for you. Somebody says, I know I'm going to need so much money in retirement. And if I need that money, I'm just going to work longer. Maybe I want to retire on this day, but if I need more money, I'll just work longer than I anticipated. How is that a misconception?
Just because your mind says it doesn't mean your body's going to cooperate. And I'll tell you, I've seen people at 1 minute everything's fine and the next minute forced into retirement. I have a really good client and friend who a couple of years ago, out of the blue, a physician herself, still running a practice, got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in both lungs and was forced into retirement. So sometimes just because we think we can do it, our body may not allow us to. God has his plan of his own. We don't know when that day comes.
Some people are going to say, I mean, I don't need a written retirement plan. I'll just kind of figure it out as I go along. That's not a myth or a misconception. That can be dangerous.
That could be extremely dangerous, just picking away at a pile of money. And then, one day you look and it's gone because, so many people. And then also most people aren't equipped to know how to navigate using this money that they've acquired. Because now it's not about growing it anymore. It's how do we take it back out and use it? And I've seen some major train wrecks with that. Here's one example. I had a lady who wanted to buy an annuity. And so she went and sat down with someone, and they advised her to cash in her 401k, not roll it over, but yet cash it in and then purchase the annuity. So not only did it cost her a bunch of taxes that she shouldn't have paid, but what it also did was raised her Part B, her IRMAA surcharge to the max level. So that's where someone who just says, oh, I've got this money, I'm going to pick away at it and use it however, without a strategy or a plan, you can make the wrong moves.
That website to meet Amy and the team and schedule that initial no cost, no obligation consultation, or if you just want to send the team a note about something you hear on this weekend show, goldshieldwealth.com. Again, goldshieldwealth.com.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gold Shield Wealth Financial. Gold Shield Wealth is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gold Shield Wealth Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Gold Shield Wealth Financial and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Gold Shield Wealth is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gold Shield Wealth. This radio show is a paid placement. Any and all services related to Medicare are an outside business activity and are not offered through or supervised by Impact Partnership Wealth, IPW, LLC. Gold Shield Wealth has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and or legal advice.